and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny, and today we have a fun episode for you guys. We are going to be talking about relationships and human design and how to understand relationships and compatibility and what might be some sore spots and like how to understand looking at two charts put together.
What's going right, what's going, hard or difficult, where are things you'd like to know? How would you like to get to know your partner a little bit better? Find out those things about them that, we can really dig into.
Yeah, it's like how to make things work, whether they go real smooth or sometimes they go a little sideways, and how to work with that.
Yep, absolutely. Compromise included. So wherever there's compromise in your relationship, we'll get to that in here. You'll see, and there's actually a reason for it.
Absolutely. If you'd like to book a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above, or I have that down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10%. So if you want to learn a whole bunch more about yourself, your human design, your friends, your family, check that out. We'd love to read for you. If you've been getting a whole lot out of our videos, you've been learning a whole lot, we have a donation link above that's also down in the description box below. And as always, thank you for liking, subscribing, thank you for commenting, hanging out with us, and let's get into it and have some fun.
Yeah, let's do this. I love this topic, by the way.
It's a good one.
Hmm.
So, starting off, we're going to revisit definition just a little bit. We did a whole big episode on this, so check this out after that video. But definition is basically your energy flow, whether it's yours or you're looking at someone else's. It's what's colored in the body graph. It's the channels colored in your body graph, and the two gates and the two centers at either end of the channel. And they represent what is consistently and reliably you. So when you see on your charts a single definition, split definition, triple split, quad split, or no definition for our reflectors, that's what we're going to go over next.
Mm. Yep, the energy flows, and you'll see as the charts come together where your energy goes into your partner and vice versa. It's all of this is going to build up to this crescendo of how it all makes sense. And boy, you're going to love this information.
It's
Mm.
real good. So, starting off, revisiting our single definition. So, single definition is when all the definition is in your body graph is connected in an unbroken path. So, on our little graphic here, we have, this is connected just in orange to indicate, look, it's all connected in one line. So, when someone's a single definition, they have a strong sense of self and they don't necessarily need the other. And that doesn't mean that they're not made for relationships. You can't make relationships work. It's just a different type of interaction when it's a single definition kind of person.
They're totally meant for partnership. Everyone is. Everyone is meant for bonding. We'll change the word partnership to bonding. We're all meant to bond in various different ways, primarily through partnership as it relates to your husband, your wife, your partner. Um, And the thing about the single definition, they're totally meant for it. It's just that within the relationship, they tend to digest information quicker. That's the don't need the other part. They don't quite need the other to bridge a split, for instance, like I need. Um, in my body graph split definitions. So our digestion and our working through and our decision making and our all of that essentially has two different parts about it. So it's got to sort of inchworm through and this part gets it and then this part gets it and they agree. It happens quickly, it can, but it's just they will happen lightning fast how they go from hearing information to suddenly having a way about them regarding the information, whereas me as a split very often will I'll be stuck in the background being like, well, I might mean this but it might mean that, just a little bit of various things because I'm sacral isn't making a decision for me. So I'm a sacral being. If this ended up being a sacral being, their sacral would work just as fast as mine, but their digestion of their movement and what they're going to do and how they're going to go about it is going to go much faster. Hey, we got to get over so and so's. Okay, I grab my keys, I walk out the door, I'm in the car. You ready to go? Not me, split definition. Let me grab this, let me grab that. Hold on a second. I'll be several minutes behind, almost always. And that's a good descriptor, sort of, and the single def is like, okay, well, I mean, let's hit the store. We only need a few things. Boom, 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 boom. They get a few things ish. Um, More likely than not, and I don't type thing. So that's how that's going to work. They digest quicker within the relationship.
Yeah, having been in like a single definition relationship with another single definition being, it was like we would come together at certain points, but we were also kind of just living separate lives together a lot of the time. It's like we lived two single definition lives together that would kind of intermerge at times and we did stuff together, but then otherwise we were kind of just doing our own thing. So it's like you said, everyone is made for bonding, everyone made is made for connecting with other people. It's just a different kind of mechanic where, like you said, the single definition, my energy is my energy. There's no gap in it. So I'm just processing that all times, as opposed to when you get to some of the split definitions where it's just going to take longer to put that together.
And it's a perfect way to put it. There's no gap in your information flow. The next round up, the split Fs and the triples and the quadruples, they do.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts on single definition before we
Well,
move
it's just
forward?
really interesting how you point that out. Inside the relationship, you will need less to do with each other in certain respects. So if your alone time, I mean, if your time together is ends up being important or one partner has importance on it, you better talk about that because you'll accidentally drift without no fault, no trying, no, don't add any other things to it. It's not on purpose. It's just drift.
Yeah, it's the solo lives live together sometimes. And not to say
Hmm.
that two single definitions can't stay together if it's right for them and their strategy and authority and all that, but just to understand the mechanics of it and
Right,
dealing
right.
with like a solo traveler. That's why I chose the graphic of this guy because he's just like he could do his own thing. He can just travel on his own and do his own thing. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't like to have a girlfriend. He can't succeed to have it. It just the mechanics are all kind of in one.
It's the right word. Doesn't need the other.
Cool. Mosey?
Mosey.
So next up, we have our split definition, and this is when the definition is split into two parts. So in our body graph here, we have that orange section that's connected in one, and then there's a gap, and then you have this green section. And so when there's a split definition, because there's this gap in between, then they can they value the people that can bridge their split. They value the people who are kind of the puzzle piece to connect these two separate pieces of themselves. So they value relationships perhaps a bit more than maybe a single definition that doesn't need it. But on the other side, with the split definition, they can also fixate on the missing link and be very conditioned by the missing link and maybe enter into relationships that might not be so great for them because they bridge the split. So it's both.
The compulsion and the conditioning inside the split is to seek out the other because there appears to be a missing piece. That's the thing. So, and when you realize there is no missing piece, it's just your design, you'll still seek out the other. It's just it'll be different. It won't be as if there's something missing. It'll be as if I want to enter in as myself this time, according to my strategy and authority and my bonding strategy that's clearly inside of our profiles and other places. They don't process as quickly. Again, I as a split, going out again, the example of going out to the car, I just take longer. I take longer to get everywhere. Um, and that's just a way to sort of demonstrate how that processing and digesting and moving through whatever the information is, and it starts at simple things and it goes up to complex things. Whatever the information is, I digest it a hair slower and I'll have a break in the line. The mind gap is a great name for this. Um, and this whole values the relationships, the fixating on the missing link part becomes the thing that tends could very easily get blamed upon the other or blamed upon yourself, both ways causing a destructive type of behavior. In a split definition, all the splits hereafter, you look at where the destructive behavior is about the split in case there is any, so they can see, oh, that's not them. I'm missing gate 23. I had to try to explain so many things before I knew I was missing gate 23. And the older I got, the more conditioned I was to have to try and find that balance and keep losing track. And it was forceful because I'm a 3420. So it wasn't always the best. I had to come to grips with that. And then when I learned, oh, that's because you thought you were missing something, I still have to try to explain the thing. I just wait for the better timing, of it all. And therefore, I don't get to always explain every last thing I'm thinking at the time. Like my previous conditioning was like making me do, like a Tourette's person with a tick that had to say it and had to keep saying it. And I would get Tourette's in there some way, Moni, sooner or later.
I know, I know. Yeah, it's interesting with the split definition because that gap can be what somebody can fixate on, but it also can be this area of wisdom where it's like if you know that's not you, then you could really gauge the quality of that energy in another person, whatever that gap is for you. And you can see how different people bridge it. So once you learn, you don't have to chase the gap and you don't have to just go, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. And this person makes me feel complete because they're that little puzzle piece, but maybe they're not the right person. They just have that gate. Then you could be wise about it of like, okay, this person might fit the puzzle piece. Are they right for me? Is it correct for my strategy and authority? Is it correct for my life? And then you can be very wise about that.
Where there are gaps, because you are a split, triple, or quadruple, everything after the single definition, where there are gaps, we seek the other. The not self of us sees it as something wrong. As we get into the more complex splits in the triple and the quadruple, you'll see sometimes there's 5 and 6 different places a person will get connected, or more. That's a lot. And the seeking of that, just generally speaking, causes the friction because there's a cute little nuance you need to see in this. In this particular picture, I'm not going to get into the full mechanics of it, but this is called a wide split because it'll take more than 2 gates to bridge that split, 2 gates or more to bridge that split. As soon as that's the case, the blaming leaves the inside. You blame a little bit inside, you start blaming a little bit outside accidentally. That's the conditioning. When there's a single split, you first blame inside and you're afraid to bring that outside. And either way, the blame doesn't need to be there for either party, is the point. There is no blame. This is your design. It's like asking to say God made a mistake when the baby came out, and God makes no mistakes in that way. You know, if you just want to look at it in the simplest terms, my favorite. Truly.
Any other commentary on like split definitions and relationship? Anything worth mentioning?
Just as we move through these splits, understand to see the different centers as different. Your partner has 2 different activities going on. Be aware of that. This picture has a mental activity and an identity splenic ego activity. I would pronounce it with the ego here, just because it would be the most sort of obvious, but it's got this ego identity versus just a lot of head stuff. So see that in your partner. Oh my God, he did it this way. Oh, head be gone. Oh, head be back. Ego be gone. Oh, ego and head be back. You can actually see it. It's entertaining. And then your partner can see it and they can realize there's nothing wrong with me. I guess I go back and forth sometimes. So talk about really being able to be awake and love your partner the way they are. What a amazing gift. I'm ready to move on.
Perfect. So continuing on to our triple split definition, and this is where the definition is split into 3 separate parts. So if we look to our body graph, we have that orange from our single definition, we added the green with the split definition, and then here we have the yellow, which adds this triple split. So there's 3 different aspects to this body graph that aren't connected in one. And so when it's a triple split, these people enjoy different connections and how different people bridge these different splits. So they work well with different types and different groups of people, but one on one they might feel a bit stuck or stagnant because they need to feel the different ways those things are linking up.
Yeah, when you're a triple split, you need to be out in the public aura every day if you can. You need to have it be a regular occurrence. The public aura is any place where a few people or more are milling by so you can physically move your aura through them. Supermarkets are great because the aisles make for close quarters. That's always good. But anything. Um, why? Why is that? Because when you're a triple split, you're now back towards looking outside of you because there's 3 separate things and not any one of them can decide to sort of quote be at fault. And so it's always looking outside the not self is for anything that's wrong. So when you're a triple split, very often they're looking at the other like there's something with a jaundiced eye, a little bit like when there's conflict. When there's love and everything's fine and there's fairy tales and honeymoons and all that stuff, this isn't the thing. But that would be the time to notice this stuff is here and start allowing it to be what it is. When the triple split being knows what they are, they just know that as long as they get out from that one, or they can't have a single husband, partner, wife conditioning them all day long the whole time. They must literally leave that. And it's no different than like when you crack your knuckles. Probably couldn't hear that.
A
If you
little bit.
could, a little bit. When you crack your nut, click, 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 or when you get that great adjustment somewhere that was like click, clickety click all the way up your spine, and it's like it's so good. That's what this feels like. There's all these different spots to connect, and it's clicking amongst the people, and it's like, oh, that's good. Oh, let me stretch it out. And now they don't know that per se, but they energetically are receiving that as part of what makes them stay okay. So if your triple split, partner is antsy, you kick them out for an hour and they'll go get something to eat at a diner or go out to dinner with them a lot. These are people that go out to dinner a lot. Let them go out to dinner an awful lot. Just be aware that their first impression has been conditioned into them to look outside of themselves during conflict, issues, rubs, frictions, various ways to describe that. Mundane things, all the way up to big, fantastic things. So come to know this in your partner so they can know it in themselves as well.
Cool. Any other final thoughts on triple splits?
Yeah, one big one. Trying to having a one person that bridges all their splits does not bridge their split. I mean, it does not. It's not the same value as one person bridging a single split. When that happens, that's great. They still need their own time. Everyone does, but to try and bridge all of these is not the goal. That's not what it is. They need to have different bridges that come and go for a little while to give it its auric shower, its little adjustment, cracking its knuckles and being, that great yawn in the morning that makes everything stretch out. That's what going out is. So don't try to bridge their splits as something like that's important. Just recognize wherever you do bridge the split, the part that is left out, which there may be one of the parts is left out and the other two are bridged, that's where you'll see, oh, this is where I can convince my husband of something. Where you can see the communication gets a little bit stronger in that one area, and you have to work at it a little bit to get to, if the sacral and the root were apart, you'd work a little differently if that were separated to get to their responsive nature. But you'd have access to their ego and their mind and all that stuff, and you'd be able to talk about this and what you're gonna. Just make sure you stop and ask the sacral. So, do we wanna? Because that's not in the conversation at that moment easily as much. So, it's an interesting nuance to watch. It's sort of nerding out a little bit though.
We don't do that at all.
Oh yeah, no, that's strictly forbidden. That's forbidden. Off with their heads,
Mosey.
Mosey.
So continuing on to our quad split, this is where the definition is split into four parts. On our body graph, you can see that the single definition where we had just the orange, then we added the green with the split, we added the yellow with the triple split, and now we add this purple section as a quad split. So the definition is split into four separate parts. And these people are here to condition the world around them. They're not here to chameleon or be empathic to their world. They're here to really kind of like push the energy out.
It's wicked empathic. Empathetic was what I was about to say. I don't know if that's the word.
I
But it
think you can
is.
say it in both ways.
Yeah, so this and this empathy, don't mistake it for because I truly care about you necessarily. The empathy part of it is I'm feeling and I'm sensitive to that we're all feeling this. And their feeling of the world is to society, generally speaking, and
So I
to
thought this is that they're not here to be chameleon or empathic to the world because they're putting so much definition out.
know that what it is they're empathic to their immediate partner because their partner is the person who's conditioning them in one way that they know there's a bunch of other things they still have going on. Their thinking process is so slow that they take forever to make certain decisions, and that's actually correct for them. The empathy I'm referring to is the recognition that because all that definition is out there, the true not self might feel no empathy, but an awake self realizes, oh my God, I'm a brick wall moving at this person with a bunch of different parts. I'm a little freaking spider monkey coming at you, can rip your face off.
They're empathic to the fact that they're pushing out so much
Yeah,
energy and
that
the effect that
yes,
they're having on others. Okay, that's cool.
they are empathic to that when they can see what their design is to the other. This is one of the skills they would have, the talents. It's not easy to break into this person. They by themselves are 9 and 0. What they are also is riddled with splits. When you get to the quad, you're back to the same strategy that the split definition has. The bridging gate is what means everything. And when you're a quad split, you're going to find half a dozen bridging gates. One gate bridges here, connects that. One gate bridges that, connects this. You'll find it all over the place. And it's a complex cacophony of information coming in as to how they're going to make a decision. I already had a hard time just figuring out how I can't always explain stuff because I don't have a gate 23. Imagine that going on with 6 different processes. That's a lot, and through different centers. So, I won't try to keynote that all through here, but you could see it would keynote through all the various centers differently. And so coming to know them is complex. And they don't necessarily need to be out in the public aura, except sometimes. Sometimes they need to walk through. If they had one person, one partner that bridged all of their splits, they'd still have to be very careful. That would be a 9 and 0 that was so close, sometimes it's too close. And so they would have to know, I have this sneaking feeling sometimes it's too much. And the other partner would have that sneaking feeling that not only was it too much, but that they somehow weren't enough because the quad split will have so much of its demands because it's back to the gate theme. What gates are missing here, 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 and here? When when you're a triple split, it's not that. It's the open center is the theme for the triple split. You go straight to the open centers as to what their primary conditioning function from the world is. When you have the split and the quadruple split, you go to the bridging gates as the primary conditioning function. Um, that has been conditioning them the whole way. So that's a lot of conditioning. Therefore, it's a lot of time to process. And when these people wake up, I can only imagine how thorough they will be as it relates to the aspects they can describe through the awareness they have of it in their very fixed way. Of course, they'll be very fixed about how they do that. Um, but yeah, what else could we say about it? It's interesting in relationships. I saw picky in the relationships that I have seen the quad split female with their husband. I have seen an incredible fickleness in general without a 55 or a 39 that was like, well, it's more like this. It's more like that. And I noticed a lot of that energy. Husband didn't really care, thank God, just regular dude. But if you were a quadruple split, he'd probably have the same thing. There's a type of pickiness that has to show up because of the intricacies of how they digest information more slowly through so many different avenues. It's like an extrusion process. We're extruding the thing out through the machine, and 32 feet later, we'll have a whole coil. And the single split all the way back to that, they're like, I'm not extruding anything. I'm just a button pusher. I push on and it's working. And the split definition says, well, I only need 2 feet of that, and they're out the door in just a minute. The triple split is like, I need 15 feet of that, and I need a hall pass to get out of your aura as much as possible twice a day. And the quadruple split is no, this is a long, slowed down process. Don't you worry. And they're almost always going to be emotional. They are, 99 out of 100. There is a configuration where they aren't, but as a quadruple, but they're worth the wait. So,
Perfect. Mosey?
mhm. Feel like there was something I'm missing, but you don't have anything else to add to any of the other ones, not just this one, but the whole split and the whole definition series. Is
I
there
mean,
anything
we
else?
I mean, we did the big definition series where we have all of it. We don't need to like get every
Oh,
single last bit. Yeah, we have other
you're right.
videos
We went
on
over this.
definition. Yeah, we have a whole big episode on relationships. So we're just laying the foundation for the next info. So moving on to our no definition, this is where there's no defined centers. So all the centers here all are white. So these are our reflectors. Then people come to them. And so reflectors are going to be reflecting the community and the people around them. And they're also going to have that like slippery Teflon aura where they're just kind of sampling and slithering through. And they need more time to make their decisions as they're like processing because they're reflecting so much of other people in the community and the transits and the moon around them.
They're the only one with a defined timeline to make a decision. Think about that.
At least 28 days.
Yep. One cycle of the moon. It's actually defined for them. That puts them directly in touch with the program, and their entire decision-making process is riddled with By the way, their day-to-day decision-making process is on what makes them feel good, just like everyone else. That's what's supposed to happen. Listen to that little 4-year-old in you. It tells you what's true, blah, blah, blah. See the conditioning in you, seeing it kills it, all that's true. But they still, that 28-day process is riddled in because they've lived it the whole time. Ergo, it's there. And when the larger the importance level is, the more they need to be talking to people. So importance level in a relationship is lots of communication and not trying to slip out, essentially, because you're changing. And the partner of this being needs to understand whatever they're saying today, like an emotional person, it's going to be different tomorrow and the next day as they shape shift. The emotional person is in a wave, they're not shape shifting. The reflector is not in a wave, they're not emotional, they're not splenic, they're not sacral, they're none of them, yet they're all of them. And they're in their own type of changing, they're a changeling because the next day they have new definition. They're the only one with a changing definition that has a fixed time for decision making. It sounds very mechanistic in that way. And it is. The name reflector, you can't place enough emphasis on that. It is to reflect back. And that's why their aura is slippery and Teflon. It's called a resistant and sampling aura. It doesn't hold out like repelling like a manifester, but their aura and a manifester have more in common than they would with any of our auras. Moni, you or mine. Um, and that resistance is hold at bay, sample, allow in or not. Hold at bay, sample, allow in it or not. And that allowing is even a 28-day process, or it's supposed to be a cycle of the moon. So in relationship, it's to recognize your sweetheart changes day to day, and you want to see what those are because every month they repeat. And when I say she changes, the core values don't change, but the way does. Their way changes um, a little bit. And you need to see that so that they don't try to be, oh, that's bad. I'll try not to change. The biggest thing in a relationship here is when we get to it, compromises and electromagnetics and relationship and all of that, amount of centers. But it's also the fact that as they move through their thing, they have to not consider anything that they left behind as stupid or have a chip on their shoulder about it. Because when they're correct to their nature, realizing they reflect back the health of the family, the health around them, generally speaking, the health of the whole environment, they're environmental beings, period. They're about the environment. Their existential question is, what is all of this? Who are they? That's their question. And is to recognize that that's true and allow that to be in because they're going to get hooked up differently by you and the transit program all month long to recognize that there's that movement. And then as the reflector looking out, the husband or wife you chose, man, they've got fixed definition. You float around them and don't let that Teflon be too slippery because it's easier for you to withdraw and be hard to reach. Not like the manifester that will make it impossible to reach if that's what they wish, but it's definitely hard to reach. And that builds distance if you're not careful. Last thing about them is when we get into the whole thing, when we see the number of centers that are defined or not with them, that is a conditioning spot. So we want to look at that one fixed pattern along with the electromagnetics.
Perfect. Feel good about
Yep.
reflectors?
Yep.
Anything else?
No, you got anything?
Not really. Just checking you sacral questions.
Oh, yeah, that worked. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're
gave you a
welcome.
sacral answer.
Thank you. So moving on, now we're going to talk about composite definition, the integration of two designs. So basically, you can look at your design on your own and you can look at your partner's design on their own, and then you can put these two charts together and what you have what is called a composite chart. And this is the foundation for the relationship. It's how the foundation of the relationship is established when you look at these two charts together. It's where definition exists in the composite. So there's four kinds of channel connections: companionship, dominance, electromagnetic, and compromise. So that's what we'll be going over on the next slides.
Yeah, as we go over them on the slides, I'll get into them a lot more. But these four main things, you'll see they're all over the place on our charts. There's almost always some of each. Sometimes you won't find dominance. A lot. The least one you find is companionship, maybe, because that requires a whole channel. But you can see companionship inside of a single gate ish. But it's the whole channel. So you're going to find these things amazingly illuminative and you look up yours and then your spouse's chart, and you about start being like, oh my God, these are electromagnetic. Oh my God, I do get compromised here. And he'll go through all of these things. It's funny.
Yeah, it's neat understanding like what is the dynamic of the connection so it can really be quite illuminating.
Indeed. Moni, your one channel compromises my gate 25.
Haha.
As a single deaf, it makes me hurry up while you're at it.
Sucks for you.
Yep, yep, that's funny.
So, we're going to start off with companion. So, a companion gate or companion channel, this is what I will call samesies. This is when you have the same gate or channel defined, and the commonality carries the greatest potential for friendship and comfortably sharing the experience of life and living with each other. This is where you can understand one another, where you can relate to each other's experience. This is a friendship channel.
Totally. It's when you both have the same channel, and these things that we're reading are really for channels more so than gates, but we have to look at it with gates a little bit here and there. Um, so when you have the same channel as someone else, you guys both know you're that way. If you both have 30, the channel of structuring 4323, you both know that you both think you know, and you speak in a voice that sounds like I know, and you've got amazing insights always flopping around, and you just start to be okay if your insights aren't the same as your partner's for a little bit, and then they usually will line back up like women's menstrual cycles. When it talks to the companionship channels, they line up. They actually, in the right relationships, they get into such an easy understanding of the other that that's why I use the lining up of what I said. But so I like the lining up aspect. Companionship is a spot where you get to feel easy. My second wife had the same channel of had a channel of abstraction like me, and we were perfectly happy allowing abstract nonsense to just fly through all the time without having to pin the other one down with, "What do you mean? Explain it to me right now," because we were both a split definition as well. Um, and we didn't. I did not bridge her split, and she did not bridge mine. Um,
Mm,
and that's okay, but I didn't know, and so there was things I could never explain, and then ultimately it ended. Undoubtedly, if I look into her split and mine, it would be because of that in part, no doubt, big conditioning gates. And I just remember we could do that forever. So it's like a spot to just hold hands. Picture it as two old people holding hands, samesies.
Yeah, it's where you get to be buddies. It's just you have the same gate. Like you and I can relate on our gate 10, for instance, right?
Yep,
Or
yep,
even the 25. Like we can relate
totally,
on these aspects, the 46. Like if you have the same gate or the same channel, it's like, oh, cool, I see you. Like same, but different. Like different people,
totally,
different experiences, but you can totally relate to that similar energy. So it's like the basis of the companionship thing.
totally. And it's samesies. So gates count. Channels are the primary thing that make it like really a big deal. But gates count, and samesies is that. Two old people married forever, like my mom and dad, 63 years now, still holding hands. It's incredible.
That's sweet. Mosey.
Mosey.
So next up, we have dominance channels. And so this is all or nothing. One person's entire channel is defined, with the other person is completely undefined. So the person with no definition can only experience their partner through acceptance and surrender to the partner's definition. This is where it's fixed and constant. And like, that's just what they're doing. And you just like, okay, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and the surrender and dominance doesn't take much at all. It's not even really much of a surrender. It's the type of thing where you just start to recognize, oh, they're that way. It could be a little bit of surrender. I don't know who I'm kidding, may not like that way, but
It's their
it's
thing, though.
it is their thing, and it doesn't really affect you the same. It doesn't affect you much because it's their thing. And dominance is great. It's great for each relationship to have at least one dominance channel each. That's a successful thing. It's a place you truly do get to know the other because they're that way and you're not. So you get to know it by contrast. And so people knowing me in my 3420, oh, he's just busy. He just does his thing, blah, 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 blah. And as long as they don't have any skin in the game with 34 or 20, it doesn't compromise them. And they're like, he's just that way. And I'll look at a channel of community person. I'll be like, no, I love community people. I got no skin in that game, no 37, no 40. And I love what they bring. When they're dominant in that way, I get to know them that way. Yes, their emotional wave is going to make me do stuff and I'm not going to like it and whatever, but the whole thing I'm going to appreciate because I know them that way. And I'm going to trust that. That's
Yeah,
dominance. Dominance is great.
Yeah, it's almost even being like impressed by the other person, especially if like they're good at doing their dominance thing of like, wow, you can do that. Like I can't do
Right.
any of that. That's like your thing and that's super cool, neato. Like
Yeah,
it can
you'll
be a
even
very
brag about your sweetie about that. My sweetie's good, and they'll brag about that. It's where your honey is willing to brag about you. Dominance.
perfect. Mosey?
Mhm.
Next up, we have electromagnetic halvesies. So this is where each partner defines one gate or half of the channel, and together they define the whole channel. So they each have half and half, and together you make something new. And this establishes a vital flow of energy between the two centers at either end of the channel. This connection represents the basic dynamic. This connection represents the basic dynamic of attraction or repulsion in relationships. So this is the home of love or hate.
Yeah, yeah, the love-hate electromagnetic. By the way, here it rarely turns into the kind of hate that's like full blown. We're going to save that for compromise and other things, because the electromagnetic pulls together, it's got a natural attractive capacity. So just like the starting of the universe, there's just a little more positive matter than there was antimatter, and in the moment it mattered, universe tilted towards matter. Here we are. It could have gone the other way. We would be negatives of ourselves at that point. Um, that's weird to consider. So that's why down in the middle you'll see the picture of the two magnets holding themselves apart, because
Yeah.
that's a little bit that's about as bad as it gets as it relates to the hate seas. But
I
it's
feel
the
like that
have.
could go I feel like this one could go either way. It's like they're either
Yep.
like being attracted or repelled.
Just remember, it's a force that does attract. Everything is the home of the monopole is a force that only attracts, it never repels. So even electromagnetic will be slanted towards the attraction rather than the repulsion. But there are times when you get sick of the other. It's like whatever. So you take a 15-5. That makes the channel of rhythm. Someone's got the 15, someone's got the 5. When that's the case, um, that electromagnetic can be difficult. You figure it makes the channel of rhythm. It's tantric in nature. It creates a sacral flow. It definitely gets things done. It takes in extreme things. It can be plenty of fun, and it's very intuitively informing. But one of those gates is called fixed patterns. And they like to fix their patterns into these rituals and don't change it. My coffee spoon goes this way and this thing this way. And the 15 is like, I'm extreme about that. I'm a little bit of a tornado coming through, maybe, maybe not. And it messes up those patterns. Now, once I can get wicked pissed at the other, but that
In both directions.
both directions, stick in the mud, the 15 will call the 5. A disaster area, the 5 will call the 15. But if they truly try to pull themselves apart, you'll find you can, by the way, you can totally break up. I'm just saying, this particular electromagnetic, you'll find a certain amount of pull back because it's an electromagnetic pull. It attracts. That's what electromagnetics do. And wherever they are, they equal the excitement of when you first meet. That's what's in them. So first meet and there's a little bit of tension, that tension of maybe maybe I like this one or whatever, all that first stuff that starts up. Most of that, what you're noticing, when I say most, a good part of what you're noticing is whatever electromagnetics were there in the two auras that got you looking at that other, that drew your attention, that brought you somehow to where they're now possible. You might get close to them and start that bond. So it's in the electron. Many of these are so juicy, lots of head pressure, and suddenly the head and the ajna are connected, and the concepts are flying, and the conversations are gorgeous. They're just going everywhere. And those two people walk away thinking, oh, I could speak so freely with them. Yeah, that's electromagnetic. A 5125. I always love that one. If I ran into a 5125, a 51 with my 25, it was always some form of shocking, like, whoa, we have spirit together. There's a spirited thing. There might be something new under the sun here. I might be more than just insignificant, and it's shocking, and this is cool, and uh, on and on. These things do that, and so suddenly we would have a great night, and what we'd be remembering about that night was this thrill aspect of it, physical thrill aspect. What did we do? Well, I mean, we just walked around the city, but it felt like we were gliding and running around the city somehow, chasing little events and excitements. Exciting is the word that would come to mind if that electromagnetic finally just shows up, and that person would go home to her girlfriends, whatever, and be like, "It was so exciting." Well, maybe get into a relationship where there's a home and a mortgage and the stuff you do day in and day out and jobs you go to, and you might find it totally. You can't put that impression on because it tries to condition the other to be the thing that's exciting to you and your gate on your end. That's where the electromagnetic runs into the sort of hate part, the friction that is all, ugh, I hate you, sort of.
So, in summation, the electromagnetic is when one person has one gate and the other person has the other gate, and together they're electromagnetically pulled together to create something new. So, this is kind of going to be the stronger connections or the connections that could probably really build to a really nice, even relationship.
Yeah, and they're the things you definitely feel right away. If there's electromagnetics, that's part of your draw.
Hmm.
Never mind a solar plex or not, those two. But if there's electromagnetics, you're drawn. Moni, do you know where we have electromagnetics? I forget. We have one, I think, or
We have
two.
a couple of them, but I'd have to look. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't want to get lost in that.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have so much more information to go
Let's go.
over.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go.
So finally, we have our compromise connection. So pulling rank. One partner defines the whole channel, and the other partner defines only a single gate in the channel. The partner with only the gate of the channel activated is always compromised or compromising by to the partner with the complete channel. So this is a possible point of contention and where one person is going to really have to yield to the other person, and it can kind of be an issue where it's just like one person can do this whole thing and the other person can do half. So it's like, why can't I do only this, but you could do the whole thing? And the other person's like, why can I do this whole thing and you can't really get it completed? So this can be like a kind of point.
The channel of rhythm example would be someone has the whole channel of rhythm and the other person only has a gate five. That person's fixed patterns are going to compromise their rituals, their things. They will compromise to the whole channel and their fixed patterns and their rhythms and their rituals and their extreme nature, their flow, the patterns that they set. And when I say compromise, it doesn't mean you can't have your pattern. It means you end up slipping it in and having it exist in and amongst the column that is standing there, which is the whole channel. It's like you've got to put your table and arrange your chairs around the column in the center of the room. That's what it's like when you have a compromise. The other person is that column, and you sort of got to arrange your chairs around it. And you got to put the table off to one side so people don't bump into it, blah, blah, blah. Um, it feels compromising.
Yeah, one
It
side is
feels
always giving into the other, whichever the energy is, because you can have multiple compromise channels in a relationship, but it's like the person with just the gate is always going to kind of have to give in to the person with the whole channel.
Yeah, that's very true. And that giving in feels really personal, and sooner or later it runs into I can't stand you. And the person to blow up the most is the person with the most compromises. They're the person
Mm,
to disorganize first, is the one suffering the most compromises. Now, when you wake up your nature and see what's really going on, that, oh, this is a compromise, you find where your flow is supposed to go. You find, like, where whatever the compromise is, a mental channel is a great, I mean, all of them are great examples of where this thing will go. If you have eight and one and it's a channel of inspiration and someone only has the eight and the other partner has the whole channel, the partner's inspiration that creatively pours out of them is what's spoken first. It's sort of where the direction, the unique direction of that family unit's going to head more often than not. And the partner with just the gate eight is, how come I can't make my contribution? I'm a silent cog over here. This isn't for me. That's what they start feeling the compromise as. So, and we need to talk to them about that. It's like, where is your creative role? What do you feel? You can't have your compromised husband or wife as part of that creative flow half the time, and they have to start to surrender to that. There's ways in which they step out of a relationship enough to have their peace without fully stepping out of the relationship. If they care about it enough, they surrender to these things. Oh well. What do the arranged marriage people say? And the mother slaps the daughter across the face and says, "You're going to step into this marriage." And she's like, "Mommy, I don't know." You'll learn to love that man. I've seen so many movies with that kind of a line,
mhm,
and some of it was true. And
mhm,
they entered in as a compromise before the auras ever even touched. So they had to
mhm,
surrender at that moment. And I guess sometimes that ends up being true, but you see what I'm saying? You do surrender to it and you have to allow that. The
mhm.
person on their knees, it's not supposed to be on your knees. That's just the glyph that Moni couldn't find one that had something even, but like it's not that you live on your knees underneath the Supreme Commander, you'll hate that person. But the glyph shows what's true. It is sort of in that way. One is
Yielding.
yielding, the yielding on you're on your knees. If you make that thing so important to you, it makes you feel like you're on your knees, is the thing. And that's not you. That's not the other. I mean, that would be incorrect. Your true you is not supposed to be that at all. So
Awesome. Mosey?
yeah, compromise is a spot where we got to talk through in a relationship. We got to bring it up. And I don't know how you, we'll talk maybe at the end, but you know, when I read for two partners at the same time, we got to bring it up. Got to bring it up because you got to get them through that point where they give you the polite problems. And then you go for the deep button a little more and say, you know, and whatever your inimitable way is, don't give me your bullshit, dude. That's the freaking surface stuff. That's the memo. That's not the meat. That's the, what do you call that? The press release.
Hmm. So when you get into the deep stuff, that's where you can really get juicy about it.
Moving on.
So next up, we're going to go back to looking at the composite charts. And so when you put two charts together, you can also look at how the centers connect between the two people. So if you look at a composite chart, there'll often be like a couple numbers and a cute little phrase. So we're going to go through those right now, starting with the 9 and 0. So this is when you have a couples chart put together, and when they're put together, then the couples have 9 centers defined and 0 centers undefined. So it's 9 and 0, nowhere to go. And so it's almost
Mm,
like there's no room for new energy or new anyone else to come in. And when Rod describes it, he talks about like a house with like all the doors and windows are closed and they're just like locked in. Like nothing new can come in. There's no breeze. The door is locked. It's just them. And this could be great. You can have some 9 and 0 couples that are like super locked in and they're like super good with one another and they're fine. Other situations I've seen where people have a 9 and 0 and they're so locked in that like no one else can get in, no one else can get out, and people can end up feeling kind of stuck or stifled. Or if it's like a wrong relationship, you can see it in somebody's body where like they'll start to kind of like not look like their
dysmorph.
best vital self. Yeah, they're kind of dysmorphed, malformed, and they
Yeah.
start to kind of not function in a vital way. So it could be great. It could be a little too locked in.
So that 9 and 0 is actually, it's a really warm feeling, just so you know. Again, on a first date, it's going to feel just like the picture on the left. It's a lock. And if you are a 9 and 0, you need to know that every once in a while, one of you, it would be fun for you to start to recognize which one first starts to get a little antsy and needs to leave the aura.
Mm,
Remember, leaving the aura isn't breaking up. It's not there's something wrong with you. It's not there's a problem. It's none of those things. It's just there's an energy exchange. There's a voltage exchange between us. I'd like to stop being zapped right now for a minute. Is that a problem? If you think about it, there is a voltage differential between these auras. So that's tickling us or it's affecting us. If you have a split, you can have 9 and 0 and still have a split or a triple split within that 9 and 0 configuration. Technically a quadruple split. There's no rule against it. Exceedingly rare. But just a split is common enough. 9 and O's to have a split. If you have that split, you'll focus there an awful lot, both of you. And that is wicked interesting to see. So we need to see it and show it so you can know, oh my God, we're bound. We're bound together. Sometimes that binding needs to get pulled off. When we get to the next one, you'll see it changes. The whole tenor changes.
any other thoughts for 9 and 0?
Nope, you're locked in with this one, that's for sure. You can't see anyone else, and no one else can really affect how the thing's going to go.
So make sure you're using your strategy and authority when you're getting into that relationship so you know it's at least right.
Please, yes.
So continuing on to the 8 and 1, have some fun. So this is in a couples chart when you have the two charts together and there's 8 centers defined and 1 undefined. So this is like there's one window open for new inspiration. And whatever that one center is, that's what you're going to learn about together. So in this example, right, they're going to be inspired by like what's inspiring and what can they ask questions about and what can they discover that's new together. If it was, the ego centered undefined, undefined together, and then they're here to, learn what is worth it and what really has value as a couple. So whichever center is undefined with this 8 and 1, that's when there's going to be like a window open for new energy, new stuff to come in, new learnings, is kind of that vibe. So this is oftentimes like a really good energy because you have so much connection that you can understand each other, but there's still something new to keep it fresh.
Yeah, and it is so sort of idyllic one in a way, the 8 and 1 have some fun. It really sort of does tend to be that way. Um, my last long-term relationship, we were 8 and 1 with an open route. We had fun with how we put each other under pressure. The pressure to get out that side, the pressure to go to the thing. It moved us, and it did get us out the door. When we're looking at these windows here, this is where the stuff comes in. But because the picture doesn't quite allow it, imaginarily put a door in this picture as well, because it's also where you go out. So you'll both go out that one door more likely than not. And the pressure will move you into something, that is the right pressure for you, hopefully. And I remember we did that an awful lot, and there was a certain amount of fun with it. So window coming in of the stuff, and then when we get to the next couple ones, you'll see also doorways going out.
Any other thoughts around the 8 and 1?
8 and 1, have some fun. You like that open center? Come talk to us. We'll show you how it works.
There's our link if you'd like to book a reading with either Danny or myself. Check it out. The
Book the
link's also
reading.
down in the description box below.
A lot less expensive than getting divorced, I'll tell you that much.
That's true. That's very true.
Moni,
So,
have you saved a relationship yet? Have you had a
what's that?
save under? Do you have a save under your belt of a relationship yet? You will if you haven't.
I'm sure I've had lots of interactions, but that's an
No,
offline kind
specifically
of thing.
through
Danny,
the
offline,
design. Oh,
offline.
okay. I have.
we,
It's
we,
cool.
I know we're an hour in though, and we have a lot more stuff to go over.
Gotcha.
So next up, we have the 7 and 2 work to do. So this is when you have a combined relationship chart you're looking at, and there's two open centers. So there's two open windows. It could kind of almost feel a little drafty, and you're unsure what to focus on. So in our example here with our body graph, there's an open head and an open root. And so it's like, okay, you have this root energy coming in to pressure you to do stuff, and this head energy to pressure you to think about stuff. And so it might be a little, you don't know what to focus on. It could be a little confusing, a little like uneasy in a way.
Two people now with two different places to place their focus because these are the open centers. Remember, the open center becomes a focus because the not self is trying to fix it. And the awake self realizes they get a lot through there in their openness. So one is open to going out through the head pressure, receiving stuff in, and they're inspired with head pressure, but the root pressure person suddenly is stuck and they don't want to do anything, and it's too much stress to them because the root pressure is about stress. And then the root pressure starts to stress the other person, and they're suddenly, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about this. They're now both, not only did the inspirations come in differently through the different windows, which could get a little confusing. It'd be like, honey, what channel are you on? And the other was like, well, I'm on this channel. What channel are you on? But they don't know to ask that question. Part of the wisdom here is just to teach them to ask the questions of the open centers. So you could say, well, there's a miss here. What channel are you on? Hey, what channel? Oh, we're on our separate channels, and they'll see that. The reason I say you got to add doors here now as well is because as a problem starts to unfold, remember 7 and 2 work to do. If you're not doing the work, and if it's something's not quite working out, suddenly you start to go out separate doors. There comes the distance. There's the relationship starting to whatever. And because I'm under too much pressure, I'm not going to that thing tonight. And the other one's like, well, I don't want to have to think about this pressure, and I want to go. And boom, different doors. He went through the door that stayed home, and she went through the door that went out, or vice versa. And that can start happening more and more. And suddenly it becomes an entrenched thing. That's how you know you're not doing the work. So when we read through the centers that are the two open ones, you'll start to see it in your relationship. Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting one where it's like there can be a lot of stuff coming in that could be interesting to kind of explore together, but yeah, it can be almost a little uneasy or like what are we supposed to focus on? Are we focusing on this? Are we focusing on this?
Right. Right. Exactly. And you don't even necessarily know to ask that. The
Hmm.
stressed person is just stressed and they don't necessarily want to. Right. And the inspiration slash questions person is like, well, I want to go. I think I do. And they're not thinking about the stressed person that doesn't want to. So they don't even know that it's the same language unless they know the language.
Cool. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Cool. So continuing on to 6 and 3, better to be free. So when you're looking at a relationship composite chart, and together there are 6 defined centers, but 3 undefined centers. So going back to our house analogy, it's almost like there's 3 open windows, and it can be kind of confusing, right? So in our body graph design, then we have like the open head, the open spleen, and the open solar plexus, and can kind of be like, what are we looking at? So even more so than the 7 and 2 with the 2 open centers, now you have a third thing coming in, and it can just be very disorienting.
Yeah. Ross said it two ways. Better to be free and 6 and 3, you'll disagree.
Huh.
His first relationship course that was how he taught it. You'll disagree. Um, and they both work. And so you will disagree because there's now too many options, and each of you can realize we don't know which windows these things are coming in. I can't tell where this is, but do I know this person well enough? Can I tell what's going on here? And then now there's 3 forms of egress out of the relationship. And so people go running for the door when they don't know what this thing is, and they run for their door, and the other person runs for their door, and they don't realize that they're running along the same doors essentially that they created by coming together in the first place. Those doors weren't there until they showed up. um, in an awake partnership, this is not supposed to matter. I mean, it truly isn't. In a true awake partnership, this doesn't really matter. I mean, anyway, it's not supposed to matter, but it matters deeply to the not self world, and in relationships generally, the conditioned world, which we all are. And I can see myself getting caught up in something if it got to be too ugly or whatever. And people who are truly just conditioned all the way, this is going to show up. This will help drag you out of your conditioning and really get into your experiment to have this big configuration and choose to stay together. Give me those people because I know they're going to sign up to wake up, and we'll enroll you in the wake up extravaganza that Moni and I do for people. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting with like the 6 and 3 and any of these dynamics, because it's like you can look at them with like a romantic relationship. You can also look at it with like friendships and see what the interaction is just to
Yep.
understand the mechanic. Like it's kind of funny, like Danny and I, we are a 6 and 3, better to be free. But it doesn't mean that we can't be like good friends and we can't talk about a lot of cool stuff and like explore energetics together. It just, it
Is
probably,
that true?
yeah, no, I
I
have
didn't.
yeah, I have it right in front of me on my
Oh,
phone. Yeah,
okay.
we're 6 and 3, better to be free. So it's like, yeah, we could still learn a lot and be friends and have fun, but we'd probably drive each other a little crazy in an actual like relationship.
Absolutely. I have to be just allow myself to be me, and then suddenly it doesn't matter, and I don't really want to be free. I don't want to be free, Moni, in that way. Yeah.
Better to be you, better to be me.
Well, you get to be you, and I get to be me, and it doesn't seem to be something that we need to be free of.
I feel like this
I'm
is
saying,
gonna turn into some like Dr. Seuss rhyme.
yeah, it sort of is, isn't it? It really, well, it lends itself up to a plus 369. We got them sacred numbers going on there,
Uh-huh.
and stuff in numerology. But regardless, it's nothing that can't be like totally worked through and understood. There's no reason for anything. I forgot, and you're right. I guess I knew for sure it was 7 and 2. I forgot that it was 6 and 3.
Yeah, and it's just like more than anything, it's just to understand the mechanics. Like this isn't supposed to be like, oh, you look up your chart with somebody, and you're like, oh my God, 6 and 3, better to be free. We can't be friends. We can't be anything. Like, it's this is not a
Only
catastrophizing
there.
thing. It's
Yeah.
just to understand the mechanics of like, cool. This is why maybe sometimes it gets weird for us sometimes. Like that's all it is. Like don't judge yourself or your relationship based on what pops up on your human design. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't make you a good or bad person. It doesn't make it a good or bad relationship. It's just understanding the plumbing underneath it. That's, what's causing things to be brought up, whether good or bad.
Right, right, exactly. So Shazam 6 and 3. Wait till we get to the next one. That one there is almost it's almost either or.
Yeah,
I'm
ready
good
for
with this
that?
one. Yep.
So finally, we have our 5 and 4 not in a relationship anymore. So when you're looking at the composite relationship chart, there's 5 defined centers, 4 undefined centers. So going back to our house analogies, like there's 4 open windows and there's a lot coming in, and there might not be enough similarity or connection to kind of balance out the level of openness that can maybe be really confusing to understand as a couple, as a cohesive unit.
If ever there was going to be the likelihood of an easier breakup, it's between 5 and 4 peeps. They just sort of get it. No need to blame the other type thing. They just sort of get it. Um,
Hmm.
but at the same time, if they really got it and they found that they were good together because their strategies and authorities light up and they have that energy, in this configuration, there would be an ego, there would be an identity, a movement towards beauty, you know what I mean? A capacity to think and manifest. If that turned them on, suddenly they'd be like, oh, I don't really know how to feel. I don't really care what we think about, I don't, you know what, that's not my pressure, but maybe I'll help you a little bit. That they would be just accepting of the things, just generally speaking. And they undoubtedly would have partially to very much separate lives and at least certain aspects in their life. But we would find out talking to them. It doesn't have to be a sad place. Listen, if you're in a 10-year marriage and you got kids and you're 5 and 4 wondering what to do, all is not lost in any possible way. Seriously, don't fret. This is a matter of radical acceptance. And you loved him for something or you loved her for something in the first place. So you'll find you'll this is the openness to re-remember what you loved in the other in the first place easily. At least in a 6 and 3, that's attention. That 3 is always going to be attention. 7 and 2, you just got work to do. Shut that up. You're going to have to do it. It's not the same thing. All this amount of openness gets you to actually more easily remember and keep coming back to remember about what you really like about the other person, because the other stuff's just too much of a pain. It's 4 of them. Let me just remember what's good. Let's play to our strengths. This
Hmm.
is a wisdom to play to your strengths, configuration. So there's a lot of ways that this can end up working out, generally speaking, only if you're awake to your nature. If not, forget it. I
Yeah,
could
and
see
again,
the
if it's like
argument.
strategy and authority kind of thing, like if
Yep.
it's actually right for you, if it's right for you and like that's where you're supposed to be in, then this could be a place where, oh, hey, we have all this openness together. What can we learn that this is all for an openness and it's not us? And we can understand how this energy affects both of us, for example, right? If it's correct for you. And maybe if it's not correct for you, then maybe it's true, like not in a relationship anymore. And like that's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to separate with love and wish the best for another person.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then this is basically the last configuration. You could keep going lower. Technically speaking, two people could be, 7 and 2 the other way around.
Two and
They
seven,
could,
yeah.
yeah, 2 and 7. They could be two reflectors that make no definition whatsoever. They could be 0 and 9. I mean, that's
That'd be
configuration.
wild.
It would be wild, but
You get
it's
two
math.
reflectors that were born like in the same hospital on the same day.
There you go. Right, with the same definition, they won't create any electromagnetics now, will they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no
But now we're just
centers would.
playing pretend.
Well, listen, it's not exactly unheard of. It's mathematically totally there. I imagine it's a wicked low percentage, 0.001 or whatever,
And you
but it's
probably
still.
wouldn't be attracted to that person because they're like it's too similar to you. Like we're attracted to the other, we're attracted to that which is different. So there might literally just not be a lot of attraction there.
Right. Now that attraction as time goes by and as people age tends to do like what happens when we're young and we're, all out for, radical this and as we get a little older, we get a little more conservative about, hey, well, let's hold on to a little bit of what worked and all that stuff that we do. It's the same thing here. They you end up seeing that, oh, there's something worth holding on to here that we don't have to get rid of from the past. But yep,
Mosey?
Mosey.
So, continuing on, now we're going to talk about line resonance and harmony. We're going to talk about the vibes. So, starting off with line resonance. So, this is if you're looking at your gate and then your decimal and your line, if you have the same line as another person, whether it's in the same gate, whether it's an electromagnetic, whether it's, in a compromise, you can look at how your lines match up in this way. So, the same lines can be 1 1, 2 2, 3 3, 4 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. So like real simple here. It's just when you have similar lines, then it can resonate together and there's an understanding.
Resonance is important. It just, when you see it in your chart, this is a spot where you guys are the same, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like super easy. You can vibe. You're both like playing the same C chord, for example.
Moni, we should point out to the people, when we're talking about these lines, we're talking about your two profile lines, and secondarily, but also importantly, the two nodes on the
And also,
personality design side, the actual lines that they're in, but mostly it's the profile lines.
well, it could be anything. I feel like it could be if your profile lines match up or they don't, or it's the nodes and if they match up, or even if you have an
Right.
electromagnetic, if someone has like, a 15.1 and a 5.1, then like
Totally.
those
Those
would
are
vibe
resonance.
together. So anywhere
Absolutely.
you can kind of look anywhere if the lines kind of vibe together or not, as how I see it.
Mhm.
So then next up, we can start talking about our harmonies. So there's three different harmonies. We're going to start off with the first one, the harmonies of lines 1 and lines 4. So line 1 is the foundation of formalization, whereas line 4 is the foundation of externalization.
Yeah, so line one we know is making foundations, just generally speaking. If you leave it at that, when you look at your profile, let's say you're a 1-3 and someone else is a 4-6. Well, that one is now in harmony to the four, which is the foundation of the externalizing. So this becomes something that the two people can see works together. That they have to work at it, but the foundation of one comes out, and they teach each other to do the other option, to do the other's role. So the fourth line learns to externalize with a little more foundation, even if they make the foundation themselves. And the first line learns that they can talk about it. They pull them both out, and that's what the harmony is. The harmony shows, oh, look at that over there. I harmonize with it. Let's sing a song.
And even like understanding like the lower trigram and the upper trigram, because the lower trigram is lines 1, 2, and 3, and then the upper trigram is lines 4, 5, and 6. So lines 1 and 4, they're both the foundation. Line 1 is the foundation of the lower trigram, and line 4 is the foundation of the upper trigram. So that's why there's that relationship.
Yeah, and they're totally foundational. That's why it starts with the same word, you know.
Hmm.
And one is the foundation of the entire hexagram as well as of the lower trigram. And the fourth becomes like a sub foundation that's on that second floor, just as important because it's getting the whole transpersonal process rolling. But the harmony is what ends up being important. These two get along. They get along with each other. They understand each other. It takes a little bit to understand, and then it becomes a natural understanding between the two.
Absolutely. Mosey?
Hmm.
So for our next harmony, we have lines 2 and lines 5. So line 2 is in the middle of the lower trigram. Line 5 is the middle of the upper trigram. So line 2 is integrating the creative medium of aloneness. And line 5 is the integration of the collective projection. So help us unpack those big words.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, second lines are hermits. Second lines are this creative little potential freak that's a natural at this and has a knack for that or not. And they're always interpersonal. They have interpersonal destiny. And so integrating creative medium through aloneness is in they want to be left alone, and it creates their specific way for them. Now they're still not making a foundation like a first line, but what they're doing is they're finding their knack and their creativity within the foundations made by the first line. And it's funny because when you get to the fifth line, they're integrating the projections of the other, because once enough people project in on the two and they can't get to the two, the next obvious thing is they go to the five, and the five becomes a thing that can universalize across all of the people. The two has to get called out. Their creative medium is like when they have harmony and there's being left alone. And the five's creative medium is in how they integrate with the collective and accept those projections. Fifth lines need to learn to allow that projection in. So the fifth line, I mean. So second lines are little naturals. They're just projecting out. And the fifth lines take that natural gift and they end up not just externalizing it, but universalizing the natural gifts that started in second line processes and showed up in fifth line processes as now what the world wants. And so it projects it upon all the fifth lines that they're going to deliver. So all the second lines are delivering the mystery and the things about the cool stuff that we might want and the freaky little natural stuff that fills in all the gaps from the foundation. And the fifth lines are the ones responsible for universalizing all of that and getting it out into the world and basically saying it to the other. They have to integrate that projection field because everyone projects upon all fifth lines hopes and dreams. Let me place my hopes and dreams in your good care, and you're not going to mess this up, right? I don't want to have to talk about you behind your back. That's what
Ruin
fifth
your
lines,
reputation.
yeah, fifth lines get a lot of that kind of energy, and that's why they learn to integrate the collective projection of people coming in. A well-adjusted fifth line person that knows that that's going on learns to simply accept the right projections and ignore the rest.
That's good advice.
Hmm. Practical.
Continuing, yeah, very practical.
Hmm.
Continuing on.
Yep.
So finally, we have our harmony of line 3 and line 6. So line 3 is the top of the lower trigram and line 6 is the top of the upper trigram. So line 3 experiences. Line 3 is just bumping into everything and it's experiencing the world. Whereas the sixth line holds itself back from having the experience unless it's worthwhile. And this is a more mature and progressed third line.
So the six line process doesn't even start until 28. Wherever there is a sixth line, it cannot start until the age of like 28 and a half, 29, when that Saturn return shows up. So all six lines are third lines in the first place. So they learn the experiences. It's just that the third line stays in that experience ridden zone and it only needs that one word. Third line people are bumping into things. They check this out. It's trial and error. They make and break bonds. They sustain at their creative endeavor. Whatever the creative endeavor starts out being, they are willing to sustain at that. They carry their share of pessimism with them. That's okay. That's a guidance tool. But the sixth line after the 28 and a half years rises above that, meaning it goes up onto the roof and it starts to hold back from having too many experiences. It's not zero. It's just now it lessens on purpose so that it can pull itself out of all of that subjective matter and bring itself a little more mature, a little more objective. And so they become natural harmonies to each other, wicked natural harmonies to each other, because all six lines know they were once a third line. They're the only line in the body graph that actually changes is the sixth line. It's a changing line. It's a line that's about to transition out to the next hexagram anyway. Right after the sixth line, you got to go somewhere to the first line of the next hexagram. So experiences meets the wisdom over what's worthwhile regarding these experiences. And that makes three and six have an incredible harmony together as it relates to seeing one another. So,
Very nice.
Moni, I got to get the door.
Okay. So I will switch over. So here's our full page of line resonance and harmonies if you want to like screen grab this because it's some pretty solid information, but just to understand how the lines relate to one another. And so like Danny said, you can look at this as your main profiles, right? Like I'm a 3-5. So like I would get along the resonance would be another third line and another fifth line, right? Or you could look at your nodes, and my nodes are what? Lines 1 and lines 5. So if it's a line 1 person or a line 5 person, we can resonate on that. But then you can also look at how you have your compromise channels or your electromagnetic channels. You can see how these different lines interact, whether as a resonance where it's the same lines 1 1 2 2 3 3, or you can look at it as the harmonies when you have the 1-4 connection, the 2-5, or the 3-6. They all have this relationship, so you can see this in different areas of your chart, whether on your own looking at profile compared to profile, or if you're looking at the composite charts of two charts put together and how the gates and channels interact.
What you're looking to just see in your charts right up front, cursory, before you book an appointment so we can read through these things for you, is you're looking to see where is there resonance or harmony within any of your profile lines. So if someone's got a 2-4 and someone's got a 3-5, it's not the 2 and the 3 that are harmony or resonant. They're dissonant with each other, but it is the 2 with the 5. And so there is a thing that then shows up inside that relationship. If you have no harmony or no resonance in your profile, that's like going out two separate windows a little bit. And so that's going to show up in how come they're like this? 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 And and then you go to the nodes to see what the compatibility is there. And as long if there's compatibility in the nodes, it can act sort of like a placebo for there being no compatibility in the profile lines. But you put them together, you find out what the strengths are, you play to it. That's the point.
Yeah, it's playing with the mechanics because even I have a really good couple friend where when I'm looking at their charts and it's like, oh, their profiles had no resonance or harmony, which like, oh no, could that be an issue? But then when I looked, all of their electromagnetics were either resonance or harmonies. So where they
Wow.
actually connected, I know, right? That was like a crazy thing where it's like, oh no, their profiles don't match, but all of their electromagnetics are super in line. So again,
Right.
nothing is good or bad, nothing is better or worse. Don't like start freaking out that your relationship is XYZ. Like don't let the mind game go crazy on you. It's just understanding the mechanics like Danny said and work to your strengths and see where those weaknesses are and maybe communicate it and talk about it and understand each other and again, work to the strengths.
And for God's sakes, if you're in a relationship already, don't hold your partner's chart against them. As soon as you become aware that that's how they are, you have to surrender to that and allow it and start to just not care. You already don't want to care mostly anyways. It's just you do. And I can show that to you when, Moni can show that to you when we read for you. So you don't need surrender. It doesn't matter. You're not going to find it any better. You're going to have something with somebody, Oh, this is perfect. Yeah, it's 9-0, and now you're smothered. You can't stand it. Yeah, don't worry. There's something somewhere.
There's going to be good and bad in every individual chart and definitely in every like couples chart. There's going to be positives and negatives, and you can just work with it if it's right.
When there
And
are
it,
compromises and you're willing to surrender to that, for instance, it becomes so important because ultimately it is a spot where you get to see the other can't help it. And then the other starts to see that in you. And now you guys are having awake conversations truly about each other rather than pointing fingers at the mysteries you're not sure of that break relationships up and seem to be these things we call problems, big problems in the relationship. Probably not. Maybe so. Don't get me wrong. There are big problems. Someone beats out someone else or whatever. Someone's always spending all the. It's a big problem, but otherwise,
it's
you
just
know,
mechanics. It's just the
yep.
plumbing. Is it a problem or is it just plumbing? So, moving on to harmonious profiles. So, we can kind of see this as like matching costumes or like a couple's costumes. And so, you can look at the 1 3 with the 4 6, right? Because the harmony 1 and 4, the harmony of 3 and 6. So, 2 and 5, and the 5 and the 2. 1 and 4, 4 and 1. 2 4 with the 5 1, 6 3 with the 3 6, 6 2 with the 3 5.
Yeah, these are the classic matchups of where there is full harmony and or resonance between, profiles. Obviously, if you have the exact same profile, there's just straight up resonance between you guys, and you totally understand each other. Although I don't know if I want to be in a relationship with another 2-4 being. That's funny now that I think of it. But ultimately, I would have the most companionship with them. It would be the most comfortable in a way. And we'd be able to pull each other out into social settings when the other didn't feel like going.
Yeah,
And we'd understand it amongst the others. I understand. Come on, let's just go. We can do that. So
yeah.
this
So
is how you
just
see them, right? This is how you see them.
yeah, it's just seeing what is harmonious, or like Danny said, if you have the same exact stuff, then there's a resonance. So again, it's just mechanics and how things connect. Feel good about this one?
Yep.
So, in conclusion, individual definitions form each person's unique energetic foundation. Composite chart reveals how channels connect and centers light up. Subtle harmonies or tension in line resonance further illuminate the mechanics of dissonance, resonance, and harmony. Human design provides a precise mechanical map for understanding why certain dynamics feel energizing, difficult, or deeply transformative. Awareness becomes a practical tool for navigating differences, amplifying strengths, and allowing the relationship itself to evolve as its own distinct entity.
Yes, evolve as its own distinct entity because you want to amplify those strengths. That was the whole playing to your strength side of things. The whole point about this being a precise mechanical map, I cannot overstate. When we say precise, as I start to keynote these things for you, or if Moni's keynoting these things for you, your heads are going to start to nod because you'll realize that's me, or that's my husband. And so, if you want precision in how to make it all work, this is your place to go for that. I've never been to a marriage counselor that could really help. They could hold space. That helps. Don't get me wrong. But as soon as they start offering, why don't you try this and try that, the chances of either both parties being interested in such a thing, at the end of my last relationship, I just remember being so disinterested, of what was going on. They were saying, well, dude, your partner here really wants to da da da. And I remember just finally looking, it's like, I don't care. I remember it was cold. It didn't feel good, but I didn't care.
Mhm.
It's like, she's crying and stuff. She's cried a bunch of times. These are good tears. She'll learn so much from those tears. I love her, but I don't care.
Well, it's like at the end of a relationship, it's like the
Total.
electricity and the vitality just dissipates and it stagnates. Like, again, if we really look at the human design body graph as like a little electrical circuit and just imagining a light bulb coming out of the throat and like that's what wants to be lit up. And maybe in the beginning there's connections there and there's inspiration and vitality and you're building and growing together. And then things change and life change and the world changes and that vitality starts to drop. And maybe that it's right for that couple to fight through and work through it and figure it out together, and they might. And maybe the relationship ran its course, and now your time to go on separate orbits, and that's okay too.
That both things can happen. Absolutely. It's about making it right for you, and it's about entering in the first place as yourself. I mean, I've yet to be in a full. It's been over 8 years in my whole deconditioning process that I've been in anything substantial, and that's because after that last one, I refused to enter in as not myself. I saw myself entering in as not myself. I witnessed it. And I was so wildly attracted. I didn't care. I did it anyway for the shock of it all. Let's see, you never know. And I was awake to
Hmm.
my nature, but not awake enough to be able to resist that. It was just funny. And I knew it. I knew it. I, so later, 3.5 years later, I knew it. She knew it. We both
I knew
knew
it
it.
was wrong from the
I
beginning,
knew
but I
it.
sure
I knew
went for that ride.
it's just because you never know. It might just, had we been more awake to our nature collectively, I couldn't get her to read human design. Just couldn't do it. So that was part of our rub. I could not get her to follow me in that way. Okay. And then we fell apart.
Yeah. Any other wrap up so this page doesn't end on the end of your relationship?
Oh God, it was just so informative. I love talking about it because it's so informative.
Yeah, just not really a high note.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't fall apart like I did. Bring it in because these things don't have to fall apart. They don't. If you're both even this much open, I know for a fact I can crack that door. I can fix this. But it's you
Hmm.
that does the fixing. It's not me. It
Hmm.
just looks like it was me at first, but it's
Because I'm
not.
pointing out the
'Cause I'm
patterns.
pointing out the patterns, but it's you that does it. And you'll find that you don't mind doing it. By the way, you'll find that it's so much easier. It's so much easier. You got kids, you got a house, you've got your patterns and rituals already set. Why is the
Yeah, if
thing.
it's right to fix it, there's a way to fix it.
That's the thing, is the thing. So, and also just on a wicked up note, you get to see all the glory about your partner and what's really going on in your relationship. And it just ends up being such an informative process. Be
Absolutely.
be awake in your relationships, people. Be awake in your relationships and agree to do the hard things. Hard things make life easy. It's hard to hear your strategy and authority for the first time and understand there's a compromise to yield to. And it's hard to, like, at first even hear the words human design, realizing there's such a body of knowledge here. But hard things make life easy. And just realize that. It doesn't have to stay hard. because at the end of the day, it's easy to like the things there's nothing you can do about. So it's called surrender. We do it all the time. If I could, I'd stay awake every day forever. I have to surrender to sleep.
It do be like that.
Hmm.
So that was our exploration of human design relationships and compatibility and how to understand yourself and your relationships, your partnerships a little bit better and how to read those composite charts or understand some of those terms that pop up when you run your chart. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I sure had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. And by the way, when you're going through your charts, don't worry that you don't understand the concepts fully. Just apply the keynotes Moni and I gave you. Literally,
Mhm.
write them down. And when you're done writing them down, string them together in a sentence. If you can, you'll see it's not as hard as you think. And you'll be like, oh my God, this is diagnosing us. So it's just such a awesome thing. And Moni, I'm glad we did this. It wasn't enough. We need 5 episodes on this to dig into all the juicy details, but I guess we'll save that for the readings when people start calling in on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in booking a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out this QR code above me, or I have the link down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10%. So check that out if you'd like to learn a whole lot more about yourself, your partnerships, your relationships, understanding what's going on and why is it ticking which way, and where's there attraction and where is there a resonance or a harmony or some tension. We'd love to help you out.
Absolutely. And on that note, much love, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah. And just as to say it, next week we will be doing the gates of love. So that is going to be pretty fun of exploring human design and the love gates, the mundane and the anti-mundane, the hot and cold love gates. So we will kind of continue our little bit of a relationship deep dive next week.
Awesome. Till then, everyone.
See you next time. Bye.